Hello, my name is Allison Corman, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Remembering the Future. And when I think about the future, I always remember that great Yogi Berra quote, "The future ain't what it used to be." And although it's a funny quote, it makes us laugh. A lot of us feel that way, that because of the events that are happening today or because of the events that happened yesterday, there are things in the future that are no longer possible. We think that for ourselves, for our children, for our country, for the world, that feeling that our dreams are not possible and that feeling that things can never get better, it weighs us down. And I think the thing that impacts most of us is when we stop believing our dreams are possible, we stop dreaming. And I have to say, everybody I've ever helped to grow a business, to overcome a problem, their dreams were such a big part of that. Their dreams of how they wanted to change or how they wanted to grow or the business they wanted to start and to be successful at, all of it had this view of the future. And when we forget that, when we don't remember our future and we let the past dictate our hope and we live in the moment without believing that the things we do today could have impact for tomorrow, it's really hard to stay enthusiastic. It's really hard to want to get up in the morning. I always say that hope is the beginning of every great idea, every marriage, every relationship, every business. It's dreaming of almost what's impossible, and we make it possible. So how do we balance this? How do we balance this presence where we stay in the moment and we get done what we need to get done today? We make sure our thoughts and our emotions are all based on the now. And at the same time, how do we dream big and hold these dreams and not feel broken or sidetracked or dismayed when things don't work out the way that we want? We have to find that balance, because without our dreams, we might not act in this moment. I remember every time I've written a book or every time I've done a podcast or I've taken on a project, it was connected to a dream of what I wanted to happen and the people I wanted to touch or how I wanted it to go. But where the suffering comes in is when we attach to it. We say, my future needs to look this way for me to be okay. I need to make this amount of money. I need to date this person. I need to be in a relationship. I need to accomplish this by the age of 30, by the age of 40. That's when we start to suffer, because that's not remembering our future. That's suffocating our future, because we're demanding the future has to look one way. And that's when the future causes us pain. But if remembering the future is filled with hope and dreams and thoughts about saving the environment or growing a big business or going back to school and getting a great job and falling in love, when it involves all of those things and we allow life to unfold with its many possibilities and we don't attach to how it has to be, that's when thinking about the future really gives us strength today. So when we could balance the present and the future in a beautiful way, we are our most powerful self. And yes, if we could totally live in the moment and be just present, is that a wonderful way to live? Of course it is. Probably the most peaceful way to live. But for me, I know that my dreams give me energy today. My passions, my thoughts of what could be, it makes me more expansive. And again, it's when I attach, when I demand the future must be the way I want it to be. That's when the suffering comes in. And that's what happens to most of us. And what's so interesting too is that when we don't mind our futures in a really productive way, sometimes we don't even act. When you let the past dictate what you think is going to happen tomorrow, or the fact that you don't like the way things are going today, when you project that into the future, sometimes we stop trying. We're like, well, what's the point? What's the point of getting out of bed? What's the point of starting a business during a pandemic? What's the point of falling in love? I've been hurt so many times. When we start to think like that, we're forgetting our future. We're saying everything that's happened in the past is going to happen again. And that's not the way life works. That's the beauty of the moment. We get to clean the slate. We get to start new. And do we have to be held accountable to the things we've done in the past? Sure. Yes, the moment comes with owning and taking responsibility, but it still has a new beginning in it. And in that new beginning, you get to dream big. So one of the first things we can do is when something happens that's unexpected is not go into this place of regret, because that's one of the easiest places to go. When we're in the moment and something happened, it's solid. You can't change the past. We all know this intellectually, but emotionally, we start to unravel. We judge ourselves, we beat ourselves up. We wonder how we got ourselves into this mess. So one of the first things I ask myself and my clients is when something happens that's unexpected, where are you in this moment? And how can you let go of regret and accept where you are? And I know I've talked about this before, but I often see the situation as a solid wall in front of me. And every decision I made to get me to this place is behind that wall. I cannot change that. But in front of that wall is open space. And that open space is what I decide to do in that moment to deal with what's in front of me. And the second question you ask yourself is, what can I control and what can't I control? It's related to the first question, but again, sometimes we think we could change the things that are out of our control. We can control our perspective, and sometimes we can make a decision to salvage something, to change something, to work on something, to go in another direction. So these are the first steps. And the third thing is bring yourself to this moment and look at your thoughts. Are you believing in this moment that because things didn't work out as planned, you're doomed? Things are no longer possible. It's a great time to do those maybe statements and go through the maybe practice. Ask yourself, are you absolutely certain your fear is true? And if you can't know absolutely that what you fear is true, maybe there's something else. Allow yourself to say, maybe everything is still okay. Maybe I could handle this. Maybe things could get better. Maybe I need to reevaluate things. Just keep saying maybe statement after maybe statement after maybe statement. And remember that life is always filled with possibilities. This moment might be solid, but remember your future. It is wide open, and things could always change. And that dream you have can still happen. So after you do these maybe statements, hope will enter into your heart again. Hope is beautiful as long as we don't attach to how things have to be. So as you feel more centered and you feel more hopeful, try to look at the situation with more flexibility, more possibility. And it's especially so important in this pandemic because the world has changed so much. We have changed so much. A lot of us feel lost and like we don't know what's possible. But we're basing that on the outside world, not on the inside world. What we think is possible, what we dream of is all still real. We just might have to find another way to get there. So don't let the pandemic force you to forget your future, because you can get back on track. It might be a different track. It might be a different business. It might be a different occupation. It might be a relationship you never thought of. Who knows? But when there's breath, there's hope. When there's hope, there's maybe. When there's maybe, there's possibility. And when there's possibility, your dreams are real. And when there's possibilities, your dreams still can come true. Don't let the outside world dictate what you want for your life. It begins with you. Yes, there can be twists and turns, and yes, there can be ups and downs, and things might not work out the way you want, but you need to be the source of your beginning. You have what it takes in this moment to gather yourself, figure out what you want, become very present, do the maybe statements, connect back with your dreams, and make a plan. And don't worry about it not working out. Just begin. Sometimes beginning is the most important thing. I remember that every time I start a new project, that moment is when the wheels really start turning. And I know my best days is when I begin and I remember my future, I remember my dreams, and I connect back to them. I don't need to know how it's going to work out. All I need to know is that I've started and I create a plan for what I'm going to do next. And if things don't work out, I embrace maybe. I don't judge myself. I love myself. I get back up. I try again. Always remembering my ultimate dream of what I want for my life. So now is the time for hope. Yes, we must be present and watch that we don't project our fears into the future. But you have every right to project your dreams into the future, your goals into the future, your passions into the future. What you want is still possible. Don't be fooled because you don't see it in this moment. Things are always in the works. You just have to get up every day and remember who you are. Remember what you want. Remember your future. And always remember, maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my book, The Gift of Maybe, it's available to all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you can subscribe and leave a comment.